Jonah Hill babysitting. Wouldn't be my first choice. Or my last. Less than last. Yeah. The Sitter stars Jonah Hill, who's now gonna babysit and go on adventures in babysitting. And there's a whole convoluted, twisty-turny kind of plot that involves, drugs and fighting and all that good, happy shit that happens when you get babysat and when you're babysitting. It happens. And when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, yeah, that doesn't look good. It just didn't. Was the movie funny? Yeah, there were undeniably some funny parts. I was laughing in parts, and I was like, that is just good dialogue there, old black guy at that one club. But the characters in this movie, dude, there's something off about them. All right, take Jonah Hill. The first thing you see is going down on this chick. That's the first thing that happens in this movie. Right there, I was like, bullshit. And the girl was like, oh, wow, my friend was right. Nice guys really are the best at going down on chicks. And then he's like, oh, hey, I'm, like timid, nice guy, and, funny nerd speak, because, I'm a nerd in this movie. We've now established that I'm an awkward nerd who's a really nice guy. Then he gets home and he's a total douchebag. He sits on the couch, just watches TV, makes his mom answer the phone. He's just a total asshole. I was like, oh, all right, that's a total 180, but all right, we now don't know who Jonah Hill's supposed to be. Is he likable and relatable, or is he a total douchebag who's gonna grow throughout this adventure in babysitting? It's like someone wrote two different characters who were gonna be friends in this movie, and they were like, oh, we can't have two main characters. Let's just, cut their dialogue in half and just crunch it together into one character. Not blend the character to a happy medium. No, the same dialogue from two different characters. Like he has multiple personality and he's a flip-floppy kind of guy, like that. And there's this other guy in the movie. He's like someone's ex-boyfriend. It's a really insignificant part, but it kind of goes on what I'm saying, where the characters weren't consistent in this movie. The guy's like, oh, hey, hey, sorry we didn't work out, but I truly do pray for you. You're like, all right, he's a Bible thumper. He's, found God, and he's gonna be that kind of nice guy. Then Jonah Hill's like, all right, hey, there's been a misunderstanding here, she's pissed at you, sorry about that. The guy looks at me, he's like, what are you gonna do about it, punk? And he pushes him, and I'm like, whoa, again with the flip-floppy kind of, okay, no one knows who they're gonna be in this movie. I get that now. In fact, the characters in this movie that were actually consistent were the kids. Not all of them were likable, but they were consistent, and I will give them that. All right, for one, you got the adopted kid from, Mexico or so. He's not actually from Mexico. He's from, Cuba or so. I don't know where he's from. He's adopted. South of the border, kind of adopted. If I throw out a country, people are going to be like, oh, actually, he's from... I don't know where he's from. He's adopted. And he's a total asshole. I mean, he, pisses on the floor. He, knocks over vases. He's a douchebag. I don't like that kid. I didn't like him. I know it's he's one of those characters where you're like, oh, he's gonna grow throughout the movie, and you'll like him at the end. Well, I don't care. I hated him for about an hour and 15 minutes, so. The other one's this little girl, this creepy little girl who walks around like she's some true Hollywood story outcast or something. Puts all this makeup on her face, and she says things like, that's a really hot name. You're really hot. She's like 4 or 5. She's like 5 years old. Which maybe that's a good thing in this movie. If for nothing else, this movie will keep pedophiles off the streets, even if only for 2 hours at a time. The coolest kid's actually the one with the anxiety problems, but he was the most likable one. Little neurotic, yeah, but still the most likable one, because he didn't knock shit over on the ground like a little asshole. Best character in the movie was Sam Rockwell. Every time he was on screen, for the 3 times he was on screen, he was the best. He was like some sort of drug lord guy, and you don't know whether or not you want to hug him when he's like, hug me. I'm like, I probably would. He seems like he'd be a fun guy before he tries to kill you. But before that, awesome. I don't know why I made him sound Colombian. Oh, hug me. I don't know. That was like Russian. I got nothing for you. I see this pattern now. Instead of remaking movies, studios are remaking movies without calling them remakes, It's like they were like, oh, we want to remake Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but we can't remake Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's a John Hughes classic. So we'll take the basic concept, make some sort of hip, edgy, up-to-date version of the movie and call it Due Date. Same thing here. They wanted to remake Adventures in Babysitting, but they can't call it Adventures in Babysitting, so they're just going to take the basic concept, remake it, make it some sort of hip, up-to-date, edgy version of the movie. It's the same thing. And I kind of see this movie how I saw Due Date. I'm like, it's just not as good a movie as the 80s movie that came before it. So flip-floppy characters, a plot that was kind of all over the place, some fun laughs for sure, and 3 kids. One was creepy, one was cool, and one was an asshole. Is it dog shit? No, but I will say it's a funny time and will probably be a better time if you're drunk. Yeah, now it's a party. Kid's an asshole. So there it is. So what's your favorite movie where people go out on the town and just shenanigans and craziness happens? Doesn't have to be a babysitting scenario, just whatever. Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.